Hi, Jim Freeman again. I'm excited that you happened upon this video because it's an uplifting story of real people overcoming obstacles to a successful outcome. I just helped my friend Keanu Rodriguez buy his first home. That's right, his first home ever. What makes it such a compelling story is that Keanu was able to do this while on active duty in the military and assume an existing loan at an interest rate of 3.25%. That's right, 3.25% when loans were being originated between 6.5% and 7%. Maybe you would like to create your own story like this. If so, use one or more of the contact pathways below this video. Set an appointment on my calendar, email me, register on one of my websites, or call me, it doesn't matter. I just want to get to know you better, learn about what you're doing, and help you if I can. Speak soon. Hi friends, it's Jim Freeman with the JP Freeman team. Got a really exciting guest here today that I want to talk to. He's got a very important story for anybody to listen to. You'll hear it in a minute. But it's especially important for younger people. And I'm going to direct this also at active duty military folks who may not realize the strength and power that they have because they are in the military, and what advantage that gives them when buying a home or setting themselves up for their financial future. So let's start, Keanu. Why don't we talk about who are you?
Okay.
Where'd you come from? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your backstory?
My name is Keanu Rodriguez. I'm from San Diego, California. I'm an active duty military member. Well, the home buying process started when I got off of deployment, towards the end of deployment. But I knew I wanted to buy a house. You know, YouTube, all the people on YouTube or like social media are like, oh, get rich in real estate. And you know, if you're on social media, you've probably seen them, right? And so I didn't really know much. Yeah, I got in contact with Jim somehow through my Auntie Joy. And
Who's Auntie Joy?
Auntie Joy, she's a family member or a family friend.
But she was a real estate broker
Yes.
in California and San Diego.
Yes.
And you're currently stationed in Washington.
Yes, I am.
Right. So she encouraged you. I guess maybe some family members had purchased homes and you saw them do it, and you had some university education prior to getting into the Navy.
Community college.
Well,
yeah,
all right,
community college.
right?
Yeah.
As I recall, you told me that you were studying mathematics. That was kind of your
Yeah. So I was studying math and computer science, applied math and computer science at SDSU, and I took a test and I got real mad. I passed, right, but I got real mad, and it's like the value of what you would pay versus the value of like what I'm getting. It's like I can learn all this on the internet for free.
right.
So I got kind of mad at college. Spent all this time trying to transfer to San Diego State, and then I realized it's like, oh, well, it's kind of a waste. So I got real mad, and then I drove down to a recruiter, and then I kind of just
Join the Navy.
Yeah, joined the Navy.
Yeah, might as well get paid to have all this training.
Yeah.
What's important to me about that is that you understood the value of education,
Right.
But it also should be a good value.
Right.
You know, you shouldn't have to pay too much for it, or the education you get should be quality education as opposed to something else.
Right.
All right, so you're from San Diego. You had a couple of parents who worked very hard. They worked multiple jobs. They had a home. They took care of the family. You had a larger family. You joined the Navy. You were assigned to a base here in Kitsap County in Washington State. And so you said you came off deployment.
Yes.
And you had been carrying this idea about owning a home. Now, what's special about being in the military that gives you an advantage to buy a home?
It gives you a chance to save money because, you know, they're going to provide at least a roof over your head, right? It's not going to be the most glamorous thing in the world, but you will have a roof over your head, and you may not be eating the best food in the world, but you'll be eating food, right? So if you like have that frame of mind, everything that you get, you will be able to keep, or almost everything you get, you will be able to keep. Obviously, you have to get like haircuts and like uniform items and stuff like that. But if you're very, you know, if you plan out what you're gonna do, you could
You can make it.
Yeah, you can make it.
And you can save money.
Right, exactly, right. And that concept of saving money stems from I guess, earlier years of my life. Like, let's just say I wanted to go out with my friends or buy a new pair of shoes or something like that, right? If I bought like a, not super expensive pair of shoes, but like a $60 pair of shoes, right? I would feel the repercussions. I would have to count the cost in my head. Like, this is like how many meals I could eat, you know? Because if I do that, I would not be able to eat, and I would look nice, but it would be miserable. Yeah. So, it's kind of like that it kind of disciplined me early on.
Right. So you saved money. You probably started doing that before you enlisted. And, but being in the military, when you're stationed at a base for a period of time, you get some additional funds for housing. It's called the base housing allowance.
Yes. So I got my BAH, my basic allowance for housing, faster than most, right? I came in with community college credits. So I have an associate's degree because, community college is a lot cheaper than university.
Absolutely.
So I did that.
A good value.
Good value, yeah. And then, so I came in like that. I originally signed a 4-year contract, but then I extended to a 6-year contract because I would pick up rank to E4 automatically, and then I got like more schooling. Then I took the advancement exam for my E5 before I left my training, and I actually passed. I was like shocked. So I passed it. I ranked up like literally as fast as you could, and then by the time I got back from deployment, I was qualifying for my basic allowance for housing.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Which added a couple $1,000 a month to your income.
Yeah, and it changed everything, right?
Right. And which you mostly socked away into savings and invested. All right. So you were thinking that you'd like to buy a home.
Yes.
Now you can use BAH, base allowance,
basic
housing,
allowance
for housing for rent.
Right.
You can do that. But if you rent a place and you rent it for 2-3 years, and then you move out, what do you got?
You got nothing.
You got nothing. So you have a choice. You can use your housing allowance to make payments on a home that you purchase, or you can use it to pay rent. Maybe there's some other options, but those are the two basic ones. And you decided that you were going to investigate further buying a place.
Yes.
And so your Auntie Joy in San Diego helped you do what?
She got me plugged in with like a banker and to get approved for a loan or a mortgage, and I got approved, and I was like really excited.
And you're probably shocked at how much they were willing to lend you.
Yeah, it was like $380,000.
Yeah, it was a big sum of money.
Yeah, so and I've never seen like numbers like that in my life. I was like, oh my goodness. So I didn't really know anything. So I was like super excited.
And that all took place just about less than a year ago.
Yeah, less than a year ago. This whole process probably started in July of last year, 2023. So.
But this was during a time when interest rates had been at historic lows about a year before this process that you went through. Rates in some cases got down below 3%.
Yes.
But by the time you got pre-approved for your loan, rates were
like mid sixes, 6.4 to 6.6.
6.7. Yeah. And so that, they said, well, we'll loan you this amount of money, and your payment will be this, and you have to pay taxes and insurance also, and we'll lump all that in. But it was quite a bit. It was a lot of money per month.
Yeah.
And Auntie Joy, who was licensed in California, couldn't do business in Washington, and she contacted me and asked me if I would help you, and I said sure. So that's how we met.
Yes.
Your Auntie Joy introduced us, and I've been in Kitsap County for quite a long time, and generally in Washington for much longer. But we went out looking based upon the amount that you could borrow, because you were qualified for a VA loan, which is another benefit of being in active duty military or retired military. You have something called a VA eligibility certificate, which helps you qualify for financing to purchase a home with zero down, no money down, which is an advantage. but you have to pay, whatever interest rates are in the market at the time. And so as we just said, it was maybe 6.5, between 6.5 and 7%. And we went out looking, and we didn't really find a lot, for $380,000. It was kind of frustrating.
I could kind of live in like a tin can.
Mm-hmm.
Like I literally did live in a tin can for like 7 months, like on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, it was a unique experience. I didn't know anything, right? When I first started looking at homes, Jim would ask me, "What do I see?" And I would just be like, "The house." I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about like septic tanks, or I didn't even know that a bedroom is not even considered a bedroom if it doesn't have a closet, stuff like that. And he would ask me questions like, "Is this a suburban neighborhood or an urban neighborhood?" And to be honest, I was like, "This neighborhood looks fine to me, so it looks like a suburban neighborhood." And he was like, "Well, it's not." Yeah, I just couldn't really tell the difference. And so like, he provided information, and I just used information to navigate.
Yeah, that's a point that people need to understand. So Keanu had an idea, and he had done some prior work. He had worked very hard, as a matter of fact, to save money. He had money in his bank accounts and in his retirement account. And he had gone to a bank, and because he lives intentionally, his credit was good enough, along with his income, to qualify for a pretty good mortgage with zero down. So congratulations on that. However, he didn't want just to find a home. He told me, "I want to learn about housing and the real estate business." He was interested not only in owning a home and living in it, but what's the investment value of a home, whether you live in it or whether you buy other properties.
Right.
So what did we do then? How'd that start off?
You sent me a bunch of information about like homes, right? The benefits and all that. So yeah, I knew I wanted to buy a home because there's a famous rapper who passed away. His name is Nipsey Hussle.
Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah, and I remember like it's probably like early 20s, like 21.
Mm-hmm.
I was like watching an interview, and he's like ownership is a big part of things. He's talking about ownership.
Right.
And so and then he sent me an article about like the disparity of renters versus homeowners.
I sent you the article.
Yes.
Not Nipsey.
Not Nipsey Hussle,
Yeah.
but Jim Freeman. Yeah, he sent me an article about like the differences in retirement versus renters and homeowners.
Right.
And like it will change it. It's going to change the outcome.
It changes first your thinking.
Right.
And then if you follow what the information tells you, if you take action that way, then it changes your outcome. And what he's referring to here is every year, maybe viewers are familiar with an organization called the Federal Reserve Bank, the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank. And one of the jobs of the Federal Reserve Bank is periodically to study the economic outcomes of what happens to people when they make decisions. And I think it's updated every year, but there's a report they put out that says they compare households that are primarily renters during their lifetime and households that are primarily homeowners during their lifetime. In the United States, about 67% of households own their own home. That's quite a bit. So why is that important? Well, it's important because the Federal Reserve Bank, which is a third-party, credible organization, says that if all you do during your lifetime as a family or as a household, if you buy a home and you live in it and you make your payments for 30 years and you pay it off, that you're going to have a net worth that is much greater than the net worth of people who don't do that, people who are renters primarily. And in this particular study, the one I gave you, I think it's for 2022 or 2023, it said that the net worth of individuals who are primarily homeowners during their lifetime was something in the range of $230,000, and the net worth of households that were primarily renters during their lifetime at retirement was about $7,000. So take your pick,
Right.
230,000 or 7,000. What do you want? And it doesn't say that you bought home smartly.
Right.
It just says you bought one, average, and you managed to live there. And you know, most people will buy one or more homes during their lifetime. They'll own more than one. But if you stay in that lane of owning a home and making the payments and paying it off, there's a big benefit to you in financial outcomes. All right, so I gave you some information. I gave you some YouTube videos.
Right.
I gave you information from the Federal Reserve Bank, from Fannie Mae, analysts and people who are experts in house prices, and they told you, home prices go up, home prices go down over your lifetime. Interest rates go up and down. And can you control any of that?
I cannot.
You cannot. Yeah. No, you can to a certain extent. I'm going to correct that, because if you buy a home that's, you know, not in perfect condition, you can do things to the home. You can add value to the home over time. But primarily, the benefit that comes to you in financial outcomes is just the fact that you owned it.
Right.
That's it. So if you're active duty military and you have this benefit called a VA loan, and you can qualify for a certain amount for zero down, you should think about taking advantage of that. But what happened? So we went out, we started looking for a home. You saw some that you liked more than others, and you were thinking about it.
During this whole process, there was always kind of like self-doubt and like, you know, all this thing. There's times I thought I was in way over my head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never done this before, you know, and this is like, you know, literally like hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line, and I was just like, I don't want to, like, you know, I just, there was times where I was just like, oh my goodness, because interest rates are rising. Everyone says the housing market is going to crash, right? There's a whole lot of made up anxiety,
yeah,
right, in the news and like social media. If you guys watch YouTube, I'm pretty sure you've seen a thumbnail of somebody saying the housing market is going to crash,
yeah,
right?
At any time.
Yeah, and it's,
yeah,
you know, I just think, yeah, you don't have control over that.
And to be correct, the housing market does crash.
It does.
It
yeah.
does.
It takes dips,
Yeah.
and I have no control over that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
But if you can afford the payment,
right.
and if you have an income,
Right.
And you know, if you're in the military, you're going to have an income.
Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty hard to get kicked out of the military, right?
Yeah.
And
people have done that.
People have
Yeah.
gotten kicked out of the military,
Yeah.
but you can right. You know, you have a stable job for the next however many years of your contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know exactly when you're going to get paid. You know exactly how much you're going to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And even some benefits, some of the benefits that we get from the military is tax-free, right? So if you like think about it, right, for the active duty military members who may be watching, only our base pay gets taxed. Our BAH and our BAS and our BAS, C pay if you're on a ship, any type of those benefits that come with the military, that's all tax-free. So on paper, right, we're making like $30,000 a year, but when you factor in all those untaxed, we're probably making like 50 to 60,
right,
55 to 60, which, you know, after taxes, we're probably making more than somebody who makes like $70,000 a year.
Right. All right. So you were nervous.
Oh yeah, I was terrified.
And I tried to help you understand the risks and, you know, the benefits.
Yes.
But you eventually decided you didn't want to spend all the money that the bank was going to lend you.
Right.
You wanted something lower.
I watched YouTube videos of like tips for home buying, and you know, just because you could make the payment doesn't necessarily mean you could afford it. And what I'm getting is that you don't want to be house poor, because you may have like a house and you're making the payment, but you can't do anything, right? And I think when it comes to like home buying and stuff like that, or any type of financial decision, I think peace of mind is something that commonly gets overlooked, right? Because you have a nice house, or you may have, you know, leveraged whatever debt, blah, 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 to do whatever, but it's the peace of mind of knowing that you can still enjoy your life, right?
You'll have a home to go to because you can make the payment.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
It just makes life easier, right? You're not stressing out, and don't let things like a house rob the joy of owning a house, right?
Exactly. All right, so you decided you didn't want to spend as much, so we began to look at alternatives to single-family housing, condominiums, townhomes, and they were quite a bit cheaper
Right.
on average than a single family home. And there's in this market around here, there's quite a few of them. But we found one. We went to take a look at it, and you know, I didn't say this at the time, I don't think, but I knew it was for you. I knew this is the place you had to have, and you know, fortunately, you liked it too.
Yeah.
And so I started doing some research on it, and I discovered a very interesting fact, very beneficial fact to people who have VA eligibility certificates. The seller of this place, the owner, had purchased it using a VA loan. And I said, Keanu, did you know that you could purchase a home like this, and that VA loan is assumable? And if I remember correctly, you said, no, I didn't know that. What's the difference? And I said, well, you know, you have this pre-approval letter from a bank that says you can borrow money and you're going to pay 6.5% interest over 30 years. But this other loan that this person already got few years ago is 3.25%, 3.25%. And the difference in payment is more than, you know, about $1,000 a month.
Right.
It's about $1,000 a month. And you said, that can't be. How can that be true? And so what happened next?
We talked about how much I'd be saving and the opportunity cost. The cost over the 30 years would outweigh the price right now of the house. And that's like, you know, properties tend to rise, right? The value of it made it like a clear choice. And, you know, the great thing about Jim is he provides all the information, but he'll let you make the decision, right? And yeah, so, but this was like an obvious decision, right? So, yeah.
Well, once you understood the facts.
Yes.
But learning about the facts and then putting them in context, that takes a little work.
I guess the way my mind works, I just think about this stuff all the time. I'm like trying to piece puzzles together in my head on how to make things work and how like it could all be cohesive.
Right.
So yeah, it all worked out, right? You know,
well, there was not a negative. Well, it was a negative. You couldn't use your zero down anymore.
Yeah, I had to pay a lot up front.
Yeah, make a down payment.
But luckily I had been saving. Oh, it's perfect, right? It was like a hand in glove fit. But it cost a lot up front, right? But yeah, over the course of the years, I would be saving. I'd be winning in the long run.
Right. So you invested an amount, and over the course of 26 years, which was the term remaining on this loan, you're going to save maybe 9 or 10 times that amount.
Yeah. In
savings. So that's a lot.
Yes.
All right. So but the process wasn't fun.
Oh no, the process was.
It was tough.
Yeah.
And you had to basically had to do what the lender told you to do, and the lender in this case wouldn't allow you a lot of help to intervene,
right,
to have the discussions with them. You had to do that yourself.
Yes.
But how did that happen? How did that interact, and how did I work with you during that process?
Yeah, Jim kind of like just coached me through it. He you know, because I didn't know anything, right? This is like all new to me. So, you know, I'd call the bank and, yeah, I would just ask a bunch of questions. And I would ask, and they were just being really difficult, right? I would call and they wouldn't, you know, it'd be during their working hours. And sometimes they wouldn't pick up the specific branch that I'd call. And it didn't make it any easier that during this time I worked nights. So I'd have to sleep during the day. So the hours were skewed, right? And I'd be like talking to them and I'd be like, right, not even thinking straight because I'm exhausted. I have to sleep at some point.
Right.
But yeah.
Everybody does.
Yeah. So I would call them.
And they had certain rules and they wanted you to produce certain documents and you didn't really understand any of that.
Yeah, I did.
That was not something you were familiar with.
No.
I gave you some information. I said, you know, you might want to talk to them this way or make sure that you're sending information by email so it's reproducible.
Yeah.
And that you have a record of these conversations.
So you have some kind of credibility if you make a complaint, right? It's not just like, oh, this guy just had one bad phone call.
Right. It was a hard process and it took a little time, but having gone through it successfully,
right.
And it wasn't that long. It was a couple of months.
Yeah, probably like 4 months.
Yeah. No, 2
months.
Yeah.
Felt long.
Yeah.
It felt long.
It seemed longer, But you completed it successfully.
Yes.
You got your approval, and it was probably a bit of a shock because when it all happened at the end, it happened very quickly.
Yes.
Boom. And then all of a sudden, hey, can I pick up the keys? Yes.
Yes.
The home is yours. You can do it as you wish.
Yeah.
And so you got some financial benefit. You learned a lot.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
learned a lot about housing and the process. You're in a position now to help other people in the military, your friends, people you know, do the same thing if they wish. You could give them the benefit of your experience. But I want to hear a little bit about your change in lifestyle. What was the difference between the week before you owned the property and the 2 weeks after? How'd you feel?
And it felt amazing. Before I was really roughing it, either sleeping on the ship or like sleeping at my friend's house on his floor.
Somebody's couch.
Yeah, couch, floor, whatever it was, and I would just be like, I would just tell myself, I'm like, it's not gonna be like this forever. It's not gonna like no, seriously, it's like I'd be walking in the rain to work, and I'd just be like, it's not gonna be like this forever. It's not gonna be like this forever. The original day I was supposed to close the house right after work. So I worked all those like 12 hours, right? And then I had a training right after, and I had to stay awake for that. And I would have been able to close in the house that day, but my instructor showed up 3 hours, like probably more than 3 realistically.
Yeah.
And so that cut into the time after. I had to call the bank, and they were closed by the time I finished with it. It was rough, and I just remember like screaming in my car, like, because I'm like exhausted. I've been up for like 36 hours, right? And I'm just like exhausted. I'm walking in the rain, and I'm just like, it won't be like this forever. It won't be like this forever. And
Why is this happening to me?
yeah, no, seriously.
Yeah.
It was like a gun training. So when I was like shooting the gun, I was just like, it's been a journey, and it's been ups and downs, but I got it done.
You did, and you did a great job. So this is a great story because it starts in the beginning, and you're like Parzival, the hero who doesn't know who he is or where he's going.
Right.
And but you go through a series of challenges. You stick with it. You learn. You adapt. You change, and you get a great outcome. No question about it. So now that you have gone through this experience and you've created this story for yourself, what's your recommendation to other active duty military personnel or veterans or anybody with a VA eligibility certificate? Or by the way, not only VA loans are assumable, but FHA loans and USDA rural development loans are assumable. So now, Keanu happens to be active duty. He had a VA eligibility certificate, but he could have assumed this loan even though he wasn't. It's possible for just civilians to do this. So if you're interested in borrowing money at half or less of what the going rate is at this given time, you should look into this. Absolutely. So what's your recommendation, Keanu?
I would say the number one recommendation is to be like intentional with your money, right? Because if you don't tell your money what to do, it's going to tell you what to do. It gives you a lot more sense of peace. Peace is something that gets, like peace of mind and mental clarity is something that gets commonly overlooked when it comes to things like buying a home or any type of personal finance, because it is ultimately a part of your life, and it's going to dictate the quality of your life and how well you sleep at night.
What's the name of the rapper?
Nipsey Hussle.
Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah.
So Nipsey, thank you. Telling young people, telling your fan base and whoever you were talking to at the time, the truth, which is this is a great country, and everybody has an opportunity to improve their themselves, their families, and to support their families. But you got to do some thinking. You got to do a little work, and sometimes you got to step out of your comfort zone.
Think of it like a marathon, not a sprint, right? So you got to think about the long game. You might do something good right now, but is it like sustainable? You're gonna sleep in the bed you make, so you gotta do things that like you could maintain.
Exactly. Well, Keanu, thank you very much for working with me. Pleasure to work with you, pal. And if anybody's interested, we got some links below, some places where you can link up with my calendar to set an appointment to talk with me for 15 minutes and find out if this tremendous story that Keanu just told is possible for you. I hope you do. But if you don't, good luck and best wishes for a good life to everybody. Thanks.